Hello everybody. Today we are going to talk about creating your price book in SuccessWare21 so that your technicians can use it out in the field. For this video we are going to talk about if you use a straightforward pricing. So if you use any of the tiered pricing that they have through the Clockwork Home Services SGI group or the franchises, we're going to talk about making sure that those price book items are set up for your technicians to use out in the field. Now to do that we're going to go inside the price book and we hit the 21 button, we hit the purchasing section, and we open up the price book right here. And this will open the price book here in front of us. Click OK past that, and it brings us up in here. So like I said, we're going to talk about the straightforward pricing aspect of it today. So to do that, we're going to go into the task section, and this is going to open up all of our task groups that we have right here. Now I'm going to open up my straightforward pricing here, right here, and this is actually my 1 hour or the airtime pricing here that I have that is a leveled pricing guide. So there we go. I have my straightforward pricing right here in front of us. Now, a couple things to talk about. If you are part of the SGI franchise or if you're part of the SGI group or the franchise group, you will gain access to using the straightforward pricing. Now, to go in and manipulate your prices, you can set the prices for each level right in SuccessWare. And to do that, you would actually right-click on the catalog. So you right-click on the catalog, you go to Edit Category, and it'll open up the category here where you can go through and edit it. Now the easiest way to edit it is to make sure that you have the number 3 checkbox checked for custom pricing. You go in and you check that and you come down and you hit the custom pricing button down here at the bottom. It will prompt you to save and it'll save the information and load up a section where you can go through and customly edit the pricing category for your straightforward pricing. Inside here, you would open up the tasks, and this will give you sections where you can go through and manipulate the tasks. Now, the first thing that you have access to is using the tiered pricing. And I'm just going to uncheck these because I'll talk about those individually. But right here, we have used tiered pricing. You hit that checkbox, and then it lets you go through and edit your levels of pricing. So you would right-click, and you can either add a new tier if you need to go through and add your tiers, or you can edit tiers as well, so that any item that is set inside that tier will have that price. So for example, maybe my level ones aren't $99, and when I set this up they were, and right now they're at 109. So I can go ahead and set this at 109 and hit Save Tier. And this will then make every price that is marked in a level 1 group that 109 price. Additionally, you could set up your pay bases, and if you do any of the task-based pay with your technicians, you can go ahead and assign a pay base for the particular level right here as well if you wanted to. And if you use the pay base reports out of SuccessWare, that will actually send that information right over to those reports. Now, we talked about setting up the prices. So I have set up the prices for my levels right here. So that's the prices that any item with that level is going to be marked. In addition to that, I can go ahead and I can set up pricing levels as well. So if I want to check this off, I can set up predetermined price levels. So for example, if you have maybe a club member price or an after hours price, and you want to set up those price levels, you can do that right inside here. And so for example, maybe I have a silver membership that's 20% off. So I go ahead and check off here. I type in silver level or silver price, whatever it is, or Ben Society price, or the Power Club price, whatever you call your service agreements, you can go ahead and set it inside there. And then you can go ahead and you could set up the percentage off. So for example, for my silver levels, I'm going to take off 20%, which I did right there. And then I make sure that both parts, labor, and miscellaneous are checked off there as well. In addition to that, you can go through and check off additional ones. So for example, I have a gold level here. Well, maybe I don't want to make this gold level. Maybe I want to make this one after hours rate, where my prices actually go up because you're calling a technician to go out after hours. And in that case, maybe they would go up 20%. So instead of having a negative 20, I can do just 20, and that'll actually raise the prices to 20% more than the standard price, which is the service fee price. So that now I have my 3 price levels as well as my tiers set up for the level price items that I have in my straightforward pricing. And that's how I go through that. In addition to that, if you wanted to round your prices to the next dollar, you could check off this checkbox here. By checking that off, that will round all of your prices up to the next dollar, so that if you take 20% off, but you want to keep it at a clean, concise dollar amount, you can round it up to the next dollar so that you're presenting your customers with straightforward prices without having the change involved. Also, you can talk about taxing as well. Now, if you're a company that charges tax, then you would make sure that this is unchecked so that you can go through and you can charge tax to the customer after the fact. Now, remote works a little bit different than inside of SuccessWare. So if you uncheck this checkbox, you will then have the option to add tax on top of it. Or if you include tax in your prices, you could check off this checkbox to include the tax in your price. So for example, for me, it's 7.5%, and I'm including tax in my price. So therefore, inside of my task, 7.5% of the fee has already been designated as tax, so that it adds it into the total and no tax will be added on top of it. So that when I present the customer with a $109 for a level 1 here, it's going to be exactly $109. It wouldn't add tax to that after that. Now, if you're a company that doesn't charge tax, you can leave this alone, and we're going to talk about taxing actually in the next video when we go down and talk about creating tax codes. But for right now, if you wanted to include tax in your prices, you check that off. If you don't want to include tax in your prices, you uncheck it. And that's all you need to worry about there when you're setting up your price book right now. So once you set those items up, you can go ahead and hit apply, and you hit yes, and it'll actually go through and give you the option to rebuild all of your prices. You go through and you hit apply, and it will rebuild all of your prices for that section. So now if I open up here, I have my levels, and then I have the prices associated with it. So for example, remember I changed level 1 to be $109. Well, now you'll see that that task is $109, 86 if you're a silver level, and 133 for after hours. So therefore I have all of my 3 price levels there set up inside of the item so that my technicians can go through and select the appropriate price and charge the customer appropriately right inside there. In addition now, when you set up your pricing levels, so for example, I made a level 1 $109. Well, now to make sure that each level 1 has the level 1 pricing applied to it, I can go through and edit the groups. So up here is the category, that's the straightforward pricing guide, and then below it is any group. And you can right click on the category to add a new group if you needed to go through and add your groups. So if you're just starting out and you're creating your tasks, you can create a new group. Maybe I have a level 7 coming in here and I want to create a level 7. I can hit new group, type in the group of level 7 here, and it automatically save it right there and actually get my next level in there if I needed to. In addition, when I'm going through and creating groups, I can select from the pricing tiers that you've already created. Remember when we were back inside the category, we created those pricing tiers? Well, now you can go through and select the tier. So if I was adding more levels, such as level 6 or 7 here, I would go back into the category, create level 6 or 7, put the prices there, and then select that, so that I can save that information and make my level 7s, just to show you how to add groups. Now, in addition to adding groups, I can go through now and I can click on my groups I've already created. And I'm going to edit the selected group and just make sure that the pricing tier of level 2 is selected here. This way, any item inside of this has level 2. And then I would go down to level 3, double check that one, level 3 is all checked. Make sure that level 4 has it. And this way, you can set it up ahead of time so that any task that you have put inside these levels will automatically have that price assigned to it. So then you can click on each level and see your tasks inside of here. Now at a later date, if you ever need to move tasks to a different level, you can actually take a task and actually drag it to the appropriate group. If by chance the item were to have raised in prices and you need to include it in a different item or a different level, you can go ahead and do it right there. And that's how you pretty much go through and you edit your straightforward pricing. Now, one thing to think about though, when you're doing a straightforward pricing guide is you have all your level tasks taken care of. Great. Now you need to talk a little bit about some of the miscellaneous tasks that you have as well. And I would recommend making a section called miscellaneous, or for me, I put AT SFP miscellaneous. Basically making a section where you're going to load up all the miscellaneous tasks that aren't part of the level pricing. For example, in mine, I've added my diagnostic. I've added my tune-ups. I've added my after-hours diagnostic, those kind of items. You can also have your safety checks or your service fees. You want to put them all in here so that when the technicians get on the device, they can go right in their price book and know where those items are so they can add them to the invoices. And when you add a miscellaneous section, when you go through and you add this group, make sure that you don't assign it to a tier. This way, it'll actually have its own manual pricing. So for example, you can select each individual task and set the price to it so that you don't have to have them all follow suit on the same price. So for example, with my diagnostic, I can click on it, make sure I put the price to whatever I need it to be. So for example, maybe it's $79. I set $79 and it'll change that to $79 and allow me to then recalc the price and even refresh. So that now, not only did I set the price, but every item here in it has been rebuilt so that I have my service fee, my after hours price, and my other prices right there. And you could go through and do that for all your tasks. So you got to make sure that you have a miscellaneous section to add all of those other tasks in your straightforward pricing guide. If you need any assistance setting up your price book, please reach out to the SuccessWare21 support team, as they are well versed in setting up the price book and they can walk you through setting up your straightforward pricing. But just in a review here, setting up your straightforward pricing, you want to add your levels, you want a miscellaneous section, and you want to make sure that you set up your price levels so that you can go through and make sure that your technicians are charging the appropriate price. Thank you.